Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Chat with Dr. Connors, and this is Dr. Connors. It's been a while since I came live on my podcast, and that can be explained by the fact that I have been suffering from the side effect of my disease, myasthenia gravis. In June, I started feeling unwell, where I could not feel my tongue. I was having difficulty just talking, and I thought that it would go away, so I basically just stopped podcasting, and so each time that I wanted to do podcasts, I did not have the capacity to last speaking because of my tongue, and it is actually quite amazing when you realize that your tongue actually I'm so sorry. How important your tongue is. So, in other words, it's, it has been really difficult for me this past few months without this disease. I am not in my usual, where last year or previous years I would experience crisis, like meaning I would be in a hospital. Now it is actually a lot easier for me, even though I'm experiencing this many crises. I am not winding up in hospitals, ICU, or the ER. So anyhow, but I do have all these many crises where I would have difficulty just functioning. And that just walking or climbing would be a struggle. But anyhow, so here I am. I am not 100% as I should. I mean, but I'm okay. I have missed doing this podcast, and I'm hoping that my co-host in my previous podcast, Jim Spiliotis, will be available when I'm able to do this at length. So in tonight's podcast, I would like to discuss about things that a lot of us experience, or not about I'm so sorry. I'm still having difficulty with my tongue. But oh my goodness. This is what happens, when you go live, so you can hear me nowing. It's anyhow. So, okay, you know how they say if you see something, say something. And, a lot of us would like to help the community, but sometimes we don't want to get involved. So what I'm talking about is that, when we do get involved and when we try to protect the community, and there are so many things, like various things that sometimes preclude us from doing so. From things like, it doesn't really matter when you try to help because the community does not appreciate it, or from the moment that you do get in trouble from doing so, or just simply it's none of my business type of type of reason, right? I should mind my own business. So, but I am the type of a person who does not really mind her own business when it comes to protecting the community or protecting others or trying to, I'd probably be the one to get involved. So where I'm going for this is that I just can't keep to myself when I see something that isn't right. And even when I used to commute in public transportation, and if I witnessed something wasn't okay, I always said something. Whereas everyone else would try to mind their own business, I would get involved. And I know that it could be dangerous, but sometimes it was also to prevent from others from getting hurt or being taken advantage of. And I know these consequences, from my actions, particularly if you live in a big city, like New York City or anywhere else. You just don't want to. You just go ahead and don't get involved when you see something that isn't right. So yesterday, after many days of being unable to go out due to ailment, well, I was unwell. I have not been unwell since I had my treatment on Monday, this past Monday. And yesterday was the first time that I was able to go out and do some errands. Even though I still had mild difficulties of just getting around, because just even minor movement or just a short walk would make me so exhausted, like I have run marathon, and my and along with body aches. I decided that yesterday. I said, you know what? I'm not going to stay home today, and I'm going to go and do something and run some errands. So I went to run some errands, even though it was not, it's not by any means the length. The same amount of time that when I do go, I was out for about a couple of hours. So when I returned home, I felt that my legs weren't functioning well, so to speak. In other words, I could not feel my neuropathy was attacking me. Could not feel my legs. They were numb, so I parked outside And I sat there for basically about half an hour, just waiting and waiting until my legs would function. And during the time that I was there, sitting outside in my car, looking like I was a private investigator, or just trying to stake out on somebody, just observing outside. It was rather quiet, no one was around, until this couple showed up just right around the corner at the end of my street. This couple, the gentleman was wearing a white shirt, that what they call a wife beater, and holding a basketball. And the lady was in a black hoodie jacket, and just walking. And well, I did not really think much of it until I noticed that they were looking through cars. So I thought that, hey, this is odd. When I saw them trying to open the cars, and I just become curious. I mean, they were looking around, and trying to pry open a car. It wasn't as if they're trying to get into the cars. So, and I thought it was odd. That they would do that, in broad daylight. It was around 11 o'clock. Just a little bit after 11 o'clock in the morning. And anyhow, so what did I do? I took my phone and I tried to capture a videography of that. But I was really concerned also for my own safety, because I was witnessing a crime that was about to happen. So I was able to capture a video of them. But when they noticed me, they stopped. They stopped from trying to pry open a car that was basically like two cars away from me, from where I parked. Anyway, so I took a video, but I pretended that I was chatting on the phone or via FaceTime. When I learned that they noticed me, I was a little bit frightened because this gentleman he was a lot large, and I was concerned that he was just going to punch through my window. I was basically a sitting duck there. So what I did, after I took the video, I took a screenshot of a close-up of their faces, and I posted on a community group on Facebook in the city where I live. And of course, I had a barrage of comments, and encouraging me, some of them encouraging me to call the police, which I did actually. My neighbor happens to be a police. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry about yawning for some reason. I just keep yawning. So, well, to go back to the story, I sent the photo to my neighbor and also to another neighbor, informing them that these two individuals just tried to pry open a locked car. And this is to warn them that, in case that something might happen, these two, I caught them, trying to pry open a locked car. Anyhow, it was not something like, I know that when I park my car, I don't try to pry open my car because I know that I locked it. I use my key to open my car if I forgot where I park it. All right, this comment is because after many comments from Facebook, a lady contacted me, informing me that she knows. She found out who those individuals in the photo I have posted in the community. And she warned me that, according to her source, the gentleman is very dangerous. He has a problem with drugs and has been suffering from some sort of like mental issues, and he's not, in other words, he's not, and also, has history of being, well, not so much of a nice bloke. So this concerned me. And, this concerned me, but of course, I did not realize that this was going to the extent where I'm going to discuss. I'm going to tell you guys, I did not post this on my Facebook. I refrained actually from putting anything on my personal page about this because of the situation, and I have been, going through so much about this neighborhood. But I'm going to focus on this one. The other stories are for a different time and different show. Or perhaps I'll have time to discuss it too. But anyhow. So, as I was reading the comments, which, of course, I did not think much of it. I have posted before about my concerns about the city, sharing my gripes. So I did not really particularly think much of it. I thought it was over. So perhaps I shrugged my shoulder. In fact, I did not even respond to the lady immediately on her direct message. I responded to her via the post that I made, and just informed her that, I'm not concerned because I forwarded the message to, forwarded the photos to my neighbor, who is also a cop. So, and I thought that was the end of it. A few moments later, I receive a message from the gentleman, and then the lady, from the lady herself and the gentleman himself. Of those I have witnessed to try to pry open a locked car. A locked car, means one, because that's when I started. That's when I started to film the act, even though it was not really. It did not do anything. It's like it was not, but it was more like an attempted crime, or which I thought that it was, something odd to do in the middle of the day, almost the middle of the day, bright, broad, bright daylight, but there was no one in the street. It was very, very quiet. But I thought still it was very brazen of them to try to pry open, cars, lock cars. Anyhow, so I received a message from these two, which to my surprise, what happened? I have taken photos of individuals before who were trying to commit crime or have committed something. And I've posted the photos before, and never had I received anything from these people, some sort of threatening me. It's not. I was really concerned, so I got really worried about that because oh my goodness, these two individuals of whom I have taken photos of, videos of the crime that they were about to commit, that I thought it was a crime that they were about to commit. I have come now, in direct contact with them. So I was really concerned. I got really worried, and so I contacted the police. In this day and age, you can't really make little things. You cannot just ignore things like this, because if you ignore little things, it could turn into big things, into catastrophic things. So I contacted the police, even though it was not, of course, I did not think that it was threatening enough, but I feared, I was concerned about my safety. Only because of the little background that I was informed by this lady of the little background of the gentleman and the photo that she shared. And of course, because of that, he would be capable of harming me, and he knows exactly where I was and where that event happened. So even though they don't know where I live, but they know the neighborhood, it's very easy to just go and find me. And of course, the fact that they were able to contact me via Facebook, even though I have not responded to them, it is a little bit concerning, because I know that I would not be contacting somebody like that. So they were claiming that they were looking for their cars and they forgot to where they park, which is, for me, in my most assumptuous way, it's rubbish. Okay, because I know that if I park my car somewhere, and I forgot where I park it, and I see that there are many cars similar like it, no matter what, you know exactly what your car looked like. So they claim that they forgot the plate number of their car. I don't forget the plate number of my car if I've been driving it for a long time, and I don't forget what my car looked like. Even if my car was parked near several similar looking car, I would know exactly where my car, and I will not be prying open with my bare hand, my own car. I would have my key readily available to click that automatic, button to unlock my car. So the claim that they were looking for their cars because they forgot where they park it, it's nonsense. Because when I witnessed these two individuals, they were not looking for cars. They were prying looking through cars, not just specific cars, but they were looking through cars. So they claim also that they have some specifics inside their cars that would remind them of their cars. So which is again another nonsense. Because if they were looking for their cars, for the parked cars, why would they walk several blocks west, okay, of the street, all the way and turn around into another street, which, by the way, one person witnessed these two people, and mentioned that they were not looking, they were just basically just walking around. I mean, walking and not looking is like far away from where they originally tried to pry open a locked car. So I did not buy that. I did not believe it, not the least bit, that they were looking for cars. What I witnessed was a crime that was about to happen. It was not two innocent people, okay, who were looking for their cars because they forgot where to park it. So, I mean, it's not that there were so many Mazdas parked in the street where I parked. No, not at all. They were not looking for particular type of car. So anyway, it frightened me. It gave me a little bit of a fright to receive a direct message, from people, from individuals of whom I have witnessed, who were about to commit a crime, and that was really concerning. It was a little frightening for me. So I reported it to the police. So the police in the city are so responsive. They're I have to commend them. They were so quick in coming over here to my house, and just very, very quick. So I commend them. It's not just this time, but in many, many times when I needed their help. The police in my city, they're very helpful. And they are very quick in responding to your call. It's not something that, you're going to wait for a few moments or an hour before they would show up. They were here basically just minutes after I called them. So I provided them all the screenshots and photos and videos and explained to them the entire scenario of what happened. Screenshots of the group that I posted the videos of this, of the crime that I thought that was about to happen. But had it not for my presence, of course, my obvious presence in the broad daylight over there, I believe that they would have tried to pry open a car because they were testing if a car was unlocked. That was the scenario, that was the scene that I have witnessed. It was not somebody trying to look for the cars, and because they did not know, because that was their claim. They were looking for the car, rather. So that was not what I have witnessed. I've witnessed something that they were trying to tamper. They were trying to open a locked car in the street. So anyway, so like I said, it gave me a fright, and I was very concerned about my safety. was very concerned that what these people were capable of. And they were threatening me that I should take down the post because if I did not take it down, they would be contacting the cops or the lawyers, and which was of course a farce. Contacting the lawyers, yeah. I snorted on that one. Contacting the lawyers. So it is not something. I mean, these are things that are in our society. One of the many reasons that people or individuals do not get involved when they witness a crime, because of the fear of retaliation, and of course of the fear of their safety. The fact that, my post was shared several times on the Facebook page, and these individuals were able to contact me, it's a little bit concerning. I was concerned. I was definitely concerned about my safety. And I still am concerned about my safety. So that's one of the reasons also why I made the police report and made them aware of these individuals' action. That just in case that, they might attempt to hurt me in any way, shape or form, or try to get even near me, there is actually a record of me reporting them, and also a video of their faces. Of their attempted crime and the reason for attempting to harm me. I know that it's probably, I probably should have not any concern, but in this day and age, basically, that I should not live in fear, but like I said, in this day and age, you can't be too careful. With the pandemic going around and the state of our society, how divided we are, how we have become a pariah, we have become such individualistic that we don't even care about other people anymore. That everything is about me, 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 me. It might be an exaggeration a little bit, but of course, I'm not far-fetched in my claim. That our society right now is like we don't really care much about the welfare of others unless our welfare first is met, right? It was no longer in a world where your neighbors were basically just, an extension of your family, extension of your relatives. I remember those days when your neighbors were extension of your family. They look out for each other. They spoke to each other. They had a friendly dealing with each other. I remember those days. It is no longer the case in this. I never thought that I would see the day that it would become like this, where your neighbors basically don't really share the same sentiments anymore. They don't care about you. As a matter of fact, it's they would do anything to, in other words, piss you off, right? So I have, unfortunately, the misfortune of dealing with neighbors. Now, this is a different story. And mind you, I'm not a loud neighbor. I don't party. I don't have loud parties. I don't have visitors or guests. I don't play loud music. The only thing that I do have are my dogs and plants and trees, which my dogs, they are lovely. They only bark when they see a squirrel in the back, in the backyard, or when they hear the neighbor, they would just let them know that they are also there. And when one of my neighbors used to have their dogs and their dog, and they would let him outside, and they would feel it, and they would just bark, of course, to establish. That's what dogs do, they bark at each other. And when they see a squirrel, like I said, in the back, they bark. They don't bark for no reasons. And when they want to come in, and I left them outside, and they bark to let me know that they wanted to come inside. Anyhow, so my dogs have been the source of this tension. And they have known that, I've lived here for quite so long, and they have known that I have always had dogs. I had more dogs now, before, than now. And yet, this past couple of years, I have struggled a lot dealing with neighbors. In both sides, actually. There were times also where I believe about a few years ago, during the height of my ordeal with battling with cancer, and also when I had my dogs, two of my dogs were suffering from cancer. And I lived alone. I live alone. And I would not have time to go and clean up the backyard like daily as I used to do, because I was running around trying to save my dogs from dying. So I would fail to pick up poop every now and then, but it was in my backyard. It was not bothering anyone, so they would make a report that it was a public health hazard. They would even attempted to try to evict me or to try to make me leave. And they have filed a petition to try. And just imagine the audacity of that move. To try to harm somebody because of the fact that, she did not. It was my backyard, it's a fencing yard. Instead of trying to find out, what was going on, because it was not the norm, that if I see something that out of the ordinary, about my neighbor, that, the usual, because you learn your neighbors, their habits, their usual movement. You will learn that, if you've been neighbors for a long time, whether you want to notice it or not, you can't help it, because that's how close we live with each other. I'm basically just 5 feet away, not even 5 feet away from my next door neighbor. I can hear them fight. I can hear them speak inside their home, and I feel like I live inside their house too. So it's not as if, I'm so far away, and, that's how close the proximity of these houses to each other. And because of that, and it should be more the reasons why you should be more concerned, or at least be curious about why is it that this person, my neighbor, the usual that she used to do, she's no longer doing it. If I notice that, and I would give an example, if I do not see my neighbor who's always up at 10 o'clock, always out and about out there in her yard working and doing things and cleaning things, if I do not see her in several days, and and she's been really quiet, I call her. I check up on her. I ask her what's going on because I've not seen her for a long time. And now, mind you, this other neighbor of mine, she is basically the only person who has a bird's eye view of my backyard. No one else. She would see what's happening. She sees exactly her kitchen window, just right basically in my yard, and facing my back door, my back entrance to the backyard. So she has an idea what is going on. You would notice exactly what happened. And if I were in her shoes, I would check up on that person. I would check up on my neighbors and say, hey, for of all the years that she has been here, and I've always known her to take care of her yard, and all of a sudden, she's slacking and she's not cleaning up. So there might be something going on. Because we, as individuals, we are a creator of habit. We may try to avoid it, but there are always habits that we tend to do over and over again without consciously doing it. We just do it. Because that is our habit, right? So, when I witness something like that, particularly if you've been neighbors for a long time, I would definitely check up on the neighbor. Instead of calling the town and trying to get the town involved, that assuming that somehow that person now, that you've been neighbors for a long, long time, and then all of a sudden, she's been bad, right? And now you try to get involved, to try to get the authorities involved. Instead of trying to go there and knock on their doors and check on them, or perhaps try to extend a help, a lending hand. Maybe your neighbors or your neighbor is suffering from something. Learn, be concerned instead of just be concerned over yourself. Instead of trying to add more to the burden, to the usual burden that your neighbor is already going through. Okay, try to be more sympathetic. Try to be neighborly. Try to be human. That humanity, it can go a long, long way. It can make such a big difference to someone's life. However, if you are just concerned about yourself, of course, you are going to assume that, okay, this neighbor is pissing me off, so therefore I'm going to involve the authorities. Because mind you, I have always been so mindful and considerate. I have always taken others' stance or where they are. I have always put myself in their shoes before I do something. Before I make such action that would harm or that would have an impact in someone's life, I would go over and over and review my action first before I would do it. It is one of the many reasons why I write that over the years, for the past 10 years or over 10 years that I have lived here, and even in the past when I would come and when I was also living part-time in this house, and I would hear loud noises and fights, which sometimes I thought that it was a violent fight, throwings, breaking things, and I would hear banging on the walls. Okay, so I would hear that them fighting, but I never once called the police. Maybe I should have, but you know what? It's quarrel, not unless someone was harmed, which I did not see. It was just violent in a way that they were throwing things, breaking things inside their house, cursing each other. That was the first bout. In other words, the first partner or husband. So I have left. I have moved out. I have rented my home. And I moved out from this area. And about a year and a half later, I found myself being back. And, being back in my house. So, of course, the usual, I maintained the garden and it's the usual things. So everything was okay, despite of the personal background of why, I came back. But that's neither here nor there. And, of course, now this time is a different partner or different husband and my neighbor. So the fight continues. So where am I going through this? Is that now there's a child involved. So, okay, you might think that is, I'm a little bit hypocritical of this, that, okay, so if, I hear this, I hear the fights where the child is also screaming. Now the child is older now, no longer, like infant or a toddler, that I would hear her scream and cry. The fight still continues, but of course, now it's a quarrel, but I don't, like I said, I have not gotten involved. I've not involved the authorities to report, because even though I feel like this is somewhat of a child abuse to expose a child to such a frequency of fights, of noise and curses and sounding violently. I don't see or I don't see anything that is physically harmful, but of course I hear emotional and mental harm in exposing a child to an environment where there is always chaos and a constant a fight, screaming. I would not want my child, if I had a child, to be raised in an environment like that. But nonetheless, okay, where I'm going with this is that had I made such complaints about these fights to the authorities, had I involved the authorities, then it would have had an impact on the child, an impact on their lives, on their careers. Because these reports, when the authority is involved, of course, like every aspect of your life is going to be also scrutinized or investigated. Or to worst scenario is that the child would be taken away from them and would be placed in a foster care, and I would not want that. I would not want a child that I know that is not being physically harmed, but of course abuse is abuse, whether physical or mental or emotional. Actually, it's it's still, you're still harming the child in a different way, the mental and emotional way. So these are the things that I have thought about not getting involved because of my concern that it would have an impact. It would have impact on the child and on their lives. I did not want that. I did not want that in my conscience. Because overall, I want that family unit to stay. I do not see them harming their child, other than, of course, harm mentally and emotionally. I have been advised by several people also, like over the years, like, to just call the police on them. But I do not do that because like I said, I'm very concerned. And these concerns, of course, they do not share. They do not share the same values and concern over me because of their action that they have tried to involve everything possible, the authorities, every little things, they would involve the authority. The fact that even though I am on my own, that I have been ill, I am on my own, I live alone, and they know that they would involve the authorities or try to even attempt to petition the town, the city, to have me evicted from my own home because they don't want to deal with barking dogs. Even though, mind you, my dogs are not barking at odd hours. They're not barking as they climb, making noise or doing public health hazards. Because those were rarities. When those times where I was not unable to clean up my backyard because I was going through so much, I did not have any help at all. Anyway, so that was what was happening, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that I think that when you see something out of the ordinary, particularly if you have known this person for quite a while, you live next door to them, it's not out of the norm. I don't think that you should add more to the burden that they are already carrying. You try to help ease out that burden by trying to extend your help. Or trying to just learn what was going on. Because by doing these little things, even though it's not little things, it can have a huge impact on that individual. I can attest to that. Because their actions have actually made me nervous and stressed and angry. And I don't like feeling angry. And these emotions and feelings have devastating effect on my welfare, on not just that, but on somebody who is not suffering from an autoimmune disease. Okay, that can have already a mental and emotional impact on them. And it could be devastating if they persist. Much more, I suffer from myasthenia gravis. And one of the triggers, number one trigger of this disease is stress and mental anguish. And I have been put in that situation many, many times by these neighbors. I feel like I don't, and I should not, be worried about it, but it has a huge impact on me. And I don't want to use the race card. Okay, I have been living in this area for a very, very long time. And there are a lot worse neighbors, I'd say. Barking and kids screaming and just loud music. Dog barking at odd hours. Excuse me. And yet, nothing was ever done. Fighting everything. When it comes to me, when a dog barks, even though it's not one of my dogs, it's automatically pointed to my house. These neighbors, they are so brazen, and they are so what is the word that I'm looking for? Because they give me such utter disrespect that they feel like they have every right and they can just go inside my yard and just cut my shrubs, cut my trees. Despite of the fact that I am outside the day before or even hours before, they would not even give me the respect of like chatting up with me before they do something to do such act. Okay, they would just go there. And you know what is so worse about this also is the fact that they would, when they cut my tree, they would throw the branches into my yard. Now I have dogs. Okay, they could just, what about if one of these days, like they would cut something and throw those sticks or branches and they would harm one of my dogs. Or when they assume that I'm not outside, that I am there, I'm inside, and I would be doing something quietly outside and they threw something and hurt me. So these are the scenarios that could happen. But fortunately, I think they are very also like careful, and they do these things, these acts. When then they know, they watch me carefully because they do these things when I am not even out. So they watch my steps very carefully. So I know that this podcast is dedicated to bad neighbors and community and getting involved. And, I'm sure that a lot of you, because I have had quite a few of my viewers and listeners shared the same experience, but of course not to the extent of my experience. And I'm sure that this put a new meaning to the show and investigation discovery, Fear the Neighbor. I watched that and I never thought that I would be experience it in a real life. So anyhow, I will continue this in the next show because of another event that happened, and I'm sure that you guys can share. So I hope that you guys continue to listen. I will have more like social issues, neighbor issues, and all kinds of issues to tackle in the next podcast. And I hope that here we are. You've 7 months or 9 months, 7 months or 8 months to the pandemic. I'm losing time. I'm losing time. It's like I'm losing. I can't keep track of time anymore. I did not even realize that today was Friday. I thought today was Thursday. So I'm sure that you share the sentiments. And hey, like I said, it's just just another day in the world, in my world. And yeah, I could spend several hours or several days or months discussing about this, and it's not going to make a difference. But of course, I'm just like sharing it with you, my personal experiences. I have lived long enough that to witness the difference when I was growing up, when I was a youngster to now, how people have evolved, not for the better, but of course I believe like for the worse. I come from the old world where we care about our neighbors. We care about feelings. We care about the welfare of others, and we care about our community. So I believe still of bringing those old world values to this new generation. But apparently, for the most part, I do not share that sentiments to many. So, well, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Please don't forget to share and subscribe, download, and follow me on Facebook and on YouTube. This is going to be posted on my YouTube also. Chat with Dr. Connors. And we will be tackling a lot of social issues, health, and everything else that you want to tackle. You can actually guest in my podcast if you want. You can just reach me and message me on my Facebook page or post a question there. In my next podcast, I will try to do a stream live also via Facebook. And I hope that I will not forget the time, because I know that I said that it was 9 o'clock, but I fell asleep. I have been sleep deprived these days. But I know that I am beginning now again with my responsibility to bring to you chats and chat and chat and chat. And thank you very much for downloading this episode. And I hope to see you again next time. Again, this has been Chat with Dr. Connors, and this is Dr. Connors. I bid you goodbye until next time. Have a good night.